We are here with Florida State head coach Mike Norvell and looking at a season where you guys are dealing with some expectations that you guys haven't had to deal with since you've been at Florida State. How do you handle going from telling your players don't listen to any of that crap to telling you don't listen to any of that praise?
In all reality, our expectation has not changed.
Yeah.
And, I'm glad that the outside expectations that people are talking positively about our program. I mean, this is Florida State. People nationally should talk good about our program. And, some of the steps that have been taken, some of the things that have occurred, the great players I get to coach. I mean, I'm glad that people have taken notice of some of the changes that have happened here. But when it comes to expectations, our expectations will always be higher than anything that's on the outside. And they were a year ago when people maybe weren't saying a whole lot of good things about us. But now, it's still for us to continue to improve, to continue to get better, and to go play our best. I mean, that's gonna be our focus.
So a lot of this has been a lot of the same guys that you inherited, that you've been able to build up and build on, and then a staff that has stayed mostly together. How important is keeping that culture consistent?
I mean, continuity was critical.
Yeah.
And when we came in, we've had our issues.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at a program and just the change and some of the struggles, some of the challenges that have been there, there's no one person or one time that you can point to. It's just, there was a lot of change. And, for the players that were here, they had to go through that. They had to experience it. When we came in, being able to set, establish, and be consistent to a standard, to be able to point in a direction of what we were going to do and how we were going to do it, and where it wasn't just a coach's expectation, it became players, and you have players that are starting to coach players. You have, the culture that's been established based off the guys that have been here and have grown through it, and the guys that we bring here that are all, really focused on maximizing the opportunity here, a part of this program. And it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I love coaching this team. I've loved watching them grow, and being able to have, for the most part, that continuity has been been really, really important.
Well, you take Jordan Travis, who you guys inherit. It sounds like he's become a different kind of leader as he's gone on. He's sort of evolved into the face of your program. Is that what you expected of him when you got there, or was that something he had to grow into?
It was when we came in. Everybody's willing to share an opinion of what they think of players and in thoughts of their future. And when I first got here, everybody was sold on Jordan the athlete. Yeah. Because he had shown that in early parts of his career, but. For him to go and grow and develop into the quarterback that he is. I remember the first time I got a chance to go out and be around him throwing, and you see the arm talent, you see the potential, and then it was just him building confidence in the rhythm and the timing and what he was being asked to do. Getting comfortable within the system. He's one of the smartest players that I've ever been around, and as you've seen him grow through the journey. He's had ups, he's had downs, but I think he's one of the best players in the entire country. And seeing that development from the work that he's put in and the example that he's been, that I think that has really helped just accelerate his leadership to becoming the face of what this program's all about.
How much of that is time? Because you look at Jordan as one, but your offensive line, that was, everybody said, okay, Florida State's offensive line is the biggest problem. It's the hardest thing to fix. You come in and it's a very thin unit. Now you're looking at a group that you feel comfortable kind of too deep across the offensive line. How much of that is just having enough time to be able to build it the way you want to?
I think all parts of it factor in. You can look at, a quarterback growing individually, him being able to go through that, like I said, just the things that we ask him to do, and how he's been able to go and execute that. Obviously, as you continue to get better up front, as you get better, on the perimeter, as everything grows together. It's what allows a quarterback to play up to the standard that they want to play.
Right.
And Jordan has not been perfect. There's been times, and what I've loved about him has been his ownership in those situations where that's where you see growth. We had a and I think that's a program wide trait, and we try to do that as coaches. We've made plenty of mistakes throughout the process, maybe a bad play, certain situations. Well, when the players see coaches taking ownership of that and continuing to grow to get better, that I think trickles down to them. And Jordan has been able to do that, and we tried to surround him with a lot of great players, and it's fun watching all that come together.
So we toss around the whole Portal King designation. We talked to Lane last year. He said, I'll take it. It wasn't my idea, but I'll take it. But you may actually be the Portal King. And I'm curious about how you handle this, because you've been able to get good players out of the transfer portal, but it has not changed your team chemistry in a bad way, where you see that a lot, where maybe you get a group, the chemistry's good, and then the next year you get a group and it doesn't quite work. But it feels like your team has acted the same no matter who you've added. So how do you do that?
Well, I mean, it's still when you go through the recruiting process, everybody's got their own unique journey. Whether it's a kid coming from high school, junior college, transfers now. I mean, everybody has a different path to get here, but we know what we're looking for. We know the type of young men. We know the character. We know the the physical traits that can fit our program per position, and what we're trying to build each of those positions with. And some years we needed a little bit more experience, maybe older player that could come in and make an immediate impact. And we've been able to do that in really both senses. Last year we signed 65% of our class was high school players, and 35% of them were portal guys. And I just want to make sure we get the right guys, and really whatever the need for the team is in the moment, that's what we're gonna try to evaluate. And as long as we're getting the right guys that want to be a part of this program, of this culture, of the ways that we do it. I mean, this program's not for everybody, and we're okay with that. But it's for the right ones, and that's why I think you've seen regardless of the path of what brought the young man here, I mean, they come in and they buy into the culture that we have.
How do you handle that in the portal recruiting process? Because it's so accelerated. Person jumps in, offers go like crazy. They come take some visits, and a lot of times within a week they've made a decision.
Yeah, I mean, extreme transparency, and when I say that so that they understand the expectation. And we try to do as much background in a very short period of time on the individual, of kind of what makes them tick, what what are they looking for, what do they desire. And it's a challenging experience to have to go through, but it's also the transparency on both ends. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that players respect, because they know, and there's also a different sense of urgency with a transfer, because they know they have to get it right, and they I think we've been able to do a really good job. You look at the success of guys that have transferred in here, becoming all conference players, becoming first round draft picks, becoming some of the best players in all of college football, because they see the opportunity that we have, and they take advantage of that, also surrounding themselves with like-minded individuals.
Well, I go back to, so you couldn't have flipped the roster when you got here, because not in the way people do now, because the rules were different. But the first year the rules changed, you bring in Jermaine Johnson, who wanted to show he was an every down player, and Georgia was loaded and it wasn't going to be possible. You bring in Jammie Robinson, who was at South Carolina, and you guys had some ideas about how you could use him. Two different stories. One guy comes in, blows up, first round draft pick. The other guy very slowly becomes one of the most important players on your team. How do you know, like, when you're talking to Jammie Robinson, that he can be that?
Well, I mean, I think when he went in the portal, and I remember the first night, the conversation, and just his passion, his desire, the want to be great, but also to be able to come in and make a difference somewhere. I mean, there's a lot of kids that can play, and if it's only focused on what they're going to do and the experience they're going to have. I think you saw Jammie's heart this past season. Whether it's back-to-back all conference player, really did some wonderful things. But the joy that he had helping get this program to 10 wins, winning a bowl game, really being a key member in that. I mean, when we got to the bowl practice, I mean, before he ever told me, he's telling me, I'm playing in this bowl game. I'm not foregoing. I think Jamie, he is very calculated in all things, but you saw his heart.
Yeah.
You saw his passion for Florida State, and I love him, and it's just I felt and knew the passion from the beginning, but it was also, even when he got here, we got to work through a lot of experiences for that to be his reality. And, those are the stories I love, being able to be a part of as those guys continue to grow.
Well, and Jared Verse coming back now, his was interesting because your defensive coordinator, Adam Fuller, was explaining to me how you guys noticed him at Albany first. Basically, every team that played Syracuse that year, you watch all of the games that a team has played. So every team that played Syracuse that year sees the Syracuse-Albany games. Who is this guy? And so all of you were in on him.
I'll never forget. We were driving. I was out on the road recruiting, and it was in December, and we get a message from our personnel department that the defensive end from Albany went in the portal. And I called Adam. I said, "Was that the defensive end that we want?" Yeah. Right. And then I was on the phone with him within, I think, 30 minutes.
Wow, that's how fast it goes.
Immediate. And, because I remember watching that game. I was like, "Man, this dude he's a legit player."
Yeah.
And it was just funny how that all goes. And obviously, I think one of the things that has been good is not only we got guys that have come in from the portal, but they're not all 1 year guys. Keeter Thomas is somebody else that I think played a huge role. He was a 1 year guy that came in from South Carolina, did some great things. But then we also, you look at, we signed 4 receivers, a year ago, out of the portal. But we needed to get older. We needed guys that they had a little bit of experience. And, as you look at a guy like Johnny Wilson, who's become, I think, one of the best receivers in the country. Well, he's coming back for a second year. Jared Verse becomes, one of the best defensive players in the country. He's coming back for another year. And so you find, Tatum Bethune at linebacker, guys that came in and made a great impact at the beginning, but are also, here for multiple years.
Well, and how do they help the guys you sign out of high school?
Well, because, they have that experience. They have that, once again, what we're looking for, what we identify the right fit for Florida State, they're just 2 different paths. So these guys just have a little bit more experience. What I love about it is, the understanding of how we do things here, maybe compared to other places, and you hear guys that have had different experiences that can almost verify the process of what we're trying to do.
Right.
Help guys have a sense of gratitude for the things that we do here that maybe don't occur other places in a sense of it's unique to us. And whenever they're able to be another message or kind of a confirmation or affirmation to the process of what we're doing here within our program, it always helps.
As you find more success on the field, does that change how many people in the high school recruiting ranks, how many want to come see you and come see what you're doing?
I mean, I think our recruiting efforts it's been a fun process to go through. I mean, it's not always, it wasn't always enjoyable at the time, but it's been fun to watch it grow because at the beginning we were talking about a vision. It was hopeful of the things that would come, and these are the things that we expect to occur. And now guys that we've been building relationships with for multiple years, and they've seen the progress, they've seen the steps, they can visualize themselves, being a part of that. And so, I mean, we've had a remarkable, interest, kids getting on campus, wanting to be a part of the program, and but it's still it's the same process for us, making sure that we're getting the right fits.
And how much is that the staff that does that, the recruiting staff, the personnel staff? I was talking to Michael Alford, your athletic director, and he said, when he got here, he wanted to make sure you were comfortable with the numbers on that. Did you want to beef that up? How critical is that group in terms of determining the fit?
No, I mean, we all play a role, and we're all going to be involved in recruiting, from myself to every coach. I mean, just the investment of time. I mean, that's how you get a sense of kids, and whether it's a short window that you get with a kid that's a transfer, or a multiple year process with somebody that might be coming out of high school. We all serve a purpose and a role in that. But being able to expand our personnel department was something that was big. And when I got here, there were some jobs that we took that we split the salary and really maybe expanded more out to be able to have people in ownership of responsibilities of different areas that we wanted to have a focus in. I'm grateful for the administration and the investment that has been made to be able, as we have spread wider to be able to cover more areas, to be able to now financially support
right.
what we're doing, and our administration, from President McCullough to Michael to the Board of Trustees, people see not only what's going on within our program, but how we're doing it, and it's being able to back that, it's been really good.
That's what I think is the most. When I was talking to Michael, I go back to 2021 when the results weren't quite there yet, but your team looked and acted the same every game. They played hard. That you knew they were going to try. I would think that's what gives you the confidence that eventually this is all going to pay off.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's there's been a great deal of focus on our improvement, on our growth, of putting everything that we have out there to be just the best that we could be.
Yeah.
And there were some disappointing results that we had to really go through. Because even with a disappointing result, we had to respond. We had to show, the buy-in, the belief, what we were doing. And this is not just players. I mean, there are things that we've experienced here as coaches that I've been 35 years playing or coaching a game of football that I never had to go through.
Yeah.
But like I told our staff, we have to be the example for them. We can't ask them to respond a certain way if we're not going to do that ourselves. And so by being in that journey together, it's so very rewarding. And that's what it did give me confidence. I was very, I was very confident, even going into last year, what would come because of who I coach.
It's just a matter of when does it come.
Yeah, exactly. And because these guys, they've worked, they haven't stopped. They continue to push. They play hard. They care about each other, and they understand and care about what they represent. Getting guys that play for and care about Florida State, and it's a beautiful thing. And these guys, they'll forever be Florida State Seminoles, and but to see what they are willing to put out there on the field, and how hard they're willing to play for each other and for the staff, ultimate amount of respect.
Well, and if you guys get where you're trying to get, they become a very special group in the history of the program as well. So,
and you saw that even towards the end of last year. To beat the two in-state schools. That's only 15th time in history that's happened.
Yeah.
We got through the regular season, and you're sitting there and you have a chance to change one of the numbers on the wall. You get the 25th 10-win season. That puts you in a. That's a special group.
I say the numbers on the wall here are hard to change.
Oh, and that's why I tell the team, if you ever do something here that can help positively change a number on the wall, you've done something that is worthy of being talked about. Now, that doesn't mean we accomplished some of the things that we still wanted to or still are capable of here moving forward. But it is, you see progress, you see belief. It's something that like a Jamie Robinson, for the rest of his life, he will be able to say he was a part of that. Of getting Florida State back to being a 10-win program, of being able to take the positive strides, being a part of the culture that's here. And I'm proud of everybody that's gone through that journey to help get us to this point, and really excited about what's ahead for this team.
So you opened with LSU for the second consecutive year. Last year was New Orleans. This year's Orlando. How much does that help the off-season sense of urgency, knowing what's sitting there?
Well, we've got to obviously initiate our own motivation.
Right.
Ultimately it's
self-starters always do better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of it, knowing that the first game of the season is going to be Sunday night, only game on television. That's and against what will be a top 10 opponent, defending SEC West champions, it's an exciting game to be able to prepare for. But we try to, as a program, still continue to focus on the things that we can control, and that's us, and that's this team getting better, this team utilizing every day between now and then, on what we need to do. And I think that's been a big part of the growth that we've seen is our guys have bought into that. But I'm absolutely excited to be able to kick off and have that stage to give the first showing of what this 23 Florida State team is going to be.
So the last couple of weeks we've had Dan Lanning on, we've had Kenny Dillingham on. So these are guys from your tree. I didn't get Ryan Silverfield for some reason. I gotta complete the set, but you're a very young coach. To have these guys who work for you as head coaches now, what's that like?
No, I mean, it's great. And I mean, you want to, as a head coach, I have the same responsibility to my assistants that I have to my players. And I want to help develop them to go out there and be the best that they can be. All the dreams, the goals, the aspirations they have, it's my responsibility to help them on that journey. And I will say, all those guys that you mentioned, I mean, they bought into that because they're all really young too.
Yeah.
And so when we came, we got a chance to work together, and I worked with all of them as assistants first. And so they got to, kind of be a part of my journey as well. And, but when I was able to hire them as assistants, it was, this is the job, this is a responsibility that you have. And you got to do that to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
But you also need to be preparing yourself for what's next.
Yeah.
And when you are willing to invest in that way, when you're willing to, really go above and beyond, I think it does accelerate the process, and something I've tried to do throughout my career. I'm living a better dream than I ever could have imagined, being able to be the Florida State head coach. And I'm 41 years old right now, but you look at those guys, and where this profession has allowed them to go. It really goes back to the work and the way they bought into that development.
So Kenny was just some guy hanging around Arizona State's practices.
He was actually one of the youngest. He was the OC
at Chaparral High School. Yeah,
and I mean, he came out and he asked if he could come up to the office and be able to sit in on some meetings. And I said, anytime you want to be there, you can be there. But we meet early, and we're gonna get after it. And I can't remember a time that he missed. I mean, he was around. He was at the practice field every opportunity he could get. He was in our meetings, and that's what sparked and formulated a relationship between us. And when I had the opportunity to hire him, I mean, I didn't have to go on a big interview search. I got to see it every day. Dan Lanning and I, we came up. He was a GA for a couple of years when I was office coordinator at Arizona State. I watched him work, and it was a no-brainer, like just to who he was, what the skill and knowledge that he brought, but just the heart of the person too. And when I got the head coaching job at Memphis, it was a no-brainer. And just to be able to have him on the staff and now to see where he's gone, you're just really happy for all those guys. It's been pretty special. And
you mentioned it earlier, though. You try to bring those people along because when you do lose somebody, you can move them. Like Tony Tokars.
It's a great example.
You lose Kenny to Oregon, Tony's ready to come up.
Tony, Alex. I mean, you look. I think I'm 7 years as a head coach. I think I've had 5 different offensive coordinators.
Wow.
And I hired. Alex Atkins was the offensive coordinator at Charlotte. Play calling offensive. Offensive coordinator, coaching the offensive line. It's a very rare combination.
I don't meet many of those. Yeah.
Well, he came here as just the O-line coach. And there was no guarantees, no promises. Mm-hmm. I mean, I believed wholeheartedly where he was going to go. Yeah. But we even had the conversations like, if the opportunity presents itself, right? This is what I want to do. Yeah. I mean, I've promoted within. I think four of those 5 have been that type of move, and he's. He earned that opportunity from the work that he did, for the leader that he is. I mean, I love watching his progression. But then Tony was on the field. He was my tight ends coach at Memphis, and he chose to come here and to be off the field. And that's sometimes some guys, just in reality, their egos won't allow them to do that. Yeah. It was because you work so hard just to be in a position, but he was willing to take a step back because he knows what we do and how we do it. And for him to really sit on the backstage a little bit for a couple of years, when the opportunity presented itself, it was a no-brainer for me. And to be able to see him and the job he's done with Jordan, Jordan had one of the best years of any quarterback in the country this last year, and Tony played such a huge role in that. And excited about where that's going to go here this next year, and obviously what his future holds. But it's the willingness to see and help young coaches elevate in the profession, but also the work and the commitment they make is what what makes it remarkable.
Well, you're going to have the next big tree. You'll be that guy. You might be. We got to work on getting you toward Hayden Fry territory. He's got the best one ever. Yeah. But it's amazing though, because you think about it, you're 41 years old and you've already got 3 head coaches on your tree. So it's a good start.
Not bad. Been fortunate to be around a lot of great coaches, and so many people that make an impact on on my journey, and the things that have allowed me to do things that I love so much. And so you always try to pay that forward, and we've got a great staff that I get to work with each day here, and excited about our future and where their future is going to go as individuals as well.
We got to let you get back to work. So thank you so much, Coach.
I appreciate you coming by, and go Noles.